Hola, you're listening to First Gen Healing, a podcast on Latinx healing and awakening journeys. My name is Priscila. I am the host of this podcast. This episode is a mid-year episode because, guys, we are already in June. One thing that has been happening over these last couple of months is the podcast has really been building some momentum, and I am so thankful for that. At the very same time, life is lifing. And so I thought that in this episode, I could give you some behind the scenes, insight into what I'm currently going through. I feel like it's point zero for me right now, and I will explain to you why. And this is specifically because, through the podcast, I showcase people's healing and awakening journeys. And a huge part of that too is my own personal healing and awakening journey is what led me to start a podcast like this. It's what led me to have this desire for purpose and for community. I never set out to portray like a perfect life or that I'm perfect or any type of thing like that. My goal is not to be like an influencer in that way, but more so a human that is showing that as a first gen, as a Latina, I'm going through a healing and awakening journey. I'm here to serve those that are going through one as well. And also that means that I have my own kind of roller coaster in the background happening as a result of this journey. So let's start with the biggest thing that's happening right now. I am moving from the East Coast literally all the way across the country to the West Coast. I'm originally from LA, from California, and I moved to the East Coast 2 years ago in 2021. So what I'm about to tell you is very summarized, but through the lens of healing and awakening. 2016 healing and awakening journey happens. 2017, 18, dark night of the soul, kind of like rock bottom, mixed in with depression, anxiety. For me, healing and awakening have been intertwined the whole time. In the spring of 2019, first panic attack. You can hear more about that in the episode Panic Attack with Yasmin. Based on that, I realized that my anxiety, depression, lostness, awakening, healing was all bringing me to this breaking point. And I realized I never want to have another panic attack. No amount of money, because I was making really good money, no amount of money is worth my health, my mental health, my physical health. And I don't know what I'm going to do next, but I'm going to figure it out. And I quit. I knew logically that what I was doing was not like leading me to where I wanted. Like, this isn't the path to success. But there was like this inner voice that was like, it doesn't matter. For once in your life, don't be responsible. Don't be logical. And so I would start to pray and like try and meditate. I was kind of like, trying these different things out. Started to paint, like just do art. Not good, but just like like scribble. And I was like, oh my God, Priscilla, like you really have no skills. That's what I thought. Like, you really have no other options. There's nothing out there that you can do. Now, as a coach for first gens who helps people who are feeling stuck and lost and feel like everything is blurry, I understand there were so many layers that were blurring my vision that had nothing to do with my capabilities. There was so much conditioning, lack of self-worth. I didn't love myself. I had a just very limited world. And so I feel like in those years of awakening, I really started to like open my mind to different things, At the end of those 3 months, unfortunately, I just didn't know myself well enough to know what could be next for me. When you decide to listen to your intuition, oftentimes the validation comes afterwards. Making sense of things comes after. And we're not used to that. Like, we want things to seem logical, seem responsible, especially for those of us that were the responsible child. We want things to seem logical, seem smart. We want guaranteed results. And what I was doing was far from that. So I, did DoorDash and Postmates just for a very short amount of time. And then I really started to apply for corporate work again, HR again. This time I had a renewed sense of what I wanted out of life. And you can listen to the episode Acting on Intuition. It's quite a few episodes ago, but I shared a video that I recorded in that summer of 2019. And in it, I share like this renewed sense of, okay, I know corporate is no longer longer my long-term game, but I also know that I currently don't know what else I could be doing. So I'm going to go back in knowing that this is not my forever. And that at least gave me enough energy to go back in as much as I didn't want to. So I ended up like writing down my requirements for what I wanted. I used to be a consultant for 50 small businesses. So I wanted to just work for one business. I want to have a nice view and I want to work in Long Beach. Well, I don't apply to this place. This place calls me. And that's how the universe works. And we're going to have an episode about manifestation very soon. So you can tune into more about that. So I went to the place and oh my God, tallest building in Long Beach, 360 view of Long Beach. Like one of the top floors. Every office in there had the most beautiful view ever. We could see downtown LA, the Queen Mary, just different parts, San Pedro to the right. It was amazing. Super nice. Everyone was dressed so nice, so like bougie, And the director was a Latina. And I was like, oh my God, like how perfect, So I started working there and only a few months later, the pandemic came. Right now I'm realizing I was going to tell you guys about the last 2 years and then I went all the way back to the last 6 years. But you know what? I want y'all to know me this way. I do jump around sometimes. ADHD has been something new that I've realized that I have. Anywho. Who I was in that moment was this person that knew corporate wasn't for me forever. This is I'm gonna look for an exit. I just don't know what it is. I'm doing press-ons because it's a creative outlet and I was saving because I knew eventually I would exit. So I started to save really well. Pandemic hit. I continued both of those things. Summer of 2021, I was someone who was starting to find her voice. I was someone who started to get to know herself a little bit better. I was coming into my own, recognizing who I was, recognizing that I could learn new things, that I wasn't stuck. I started to learn my real personality. I stopped being such an overgiver. I was allowing myself to say no to things. Lots of epiphanies and lots of things where it was epiphanies in terms of the universe. Oh my God, I really am on a floating rock and I really won't be here one day. So why am I doing so much that I don't want to do? Those kinds of things, and allowing them to hit me deep and impact who I was becoming and who I wanted to be. I recognized I want to find something that makes me feel good and that gives me purpose for a living. I don't want to give up my time and feel like I'm exchanging my time, energy, and potential for a check. That was just not feeling good anymore. I was just not able to stomach that anymore. I wasn't drinking anymore. I wasn't going out. I was really in this mode of exploration and really trying to find and figure myself out. By this point, I had started to build a relationship with the universe and I felt like something big was coming. I felt it. I was it just feels like something big is coming. I'm getting ready for something, And the thing is, the universe works in super mysterious ways. I was looking for a new place at that time. I was man, I feel like that big thing is going to be this beautiful apartment. And I thought that's what I was going to find, an affordable, beautiful place. And to my surprise, I did get a call of something big coming, but it was not something beautiful. In June, I received a call from a family member that they were about to go through some major life changes. During some important dates, I came out here and I was present for those. And I decided, you know what? I want to be here for this. And I was universe, this is the big thing, isn't it? But this isn't a good big thing, So I went back to California and within 3 weeks, I packed up all of my stuff. I sold some of my stuff. As I was doing that, I was also looking for a place out here. I saw this home pop up in the apartments app. I applied right away. It ended up being the home that I moved into. And I can only describe that moment in time as adrenaline, I think. I've never had kids myself, but I have this feeling I always hear parents, or my parents used to say you do whatever you need and have to do for your child. And I feel I kind of had that energy within me. It was like, I'm gonna do whatever it takes and I'm gonna make this happen and I'm gonna be there. My mom let me borrow one of her cars so that I could pack that car and move out here. And then within 3-4 weeks max, we started our drive literally across the country to get here. I want to be respectful of my family member, but I'll just say that it was a super emotional time. I was begging the universe for support, for strength. It's the type of thing that brings you to your knees and has you like gasping for air. And yet I wasn't the one that it was happening to, you know. But being this empath that I am and highly sensitive person and kind of like loving, you know, my family, it felt like it was happening to me. It's like you love someone so much that you want to feel it. Like you want to go through it, not them, you know? And so that's the type of moment that presented itself to my family and was happening. And I truly, like, on my end, you know, obviously there's two different stories happening. It's not happening to me, but I am a part of what's happening. And I decide to be even a bigger part of it by moving out here and being kind of like the family member that comes out here to live and be a part of it all. It was such a weird time because all of that was like happening. And then I get approved for this home, a 2-story home. I'm living in this 1-bedroom apartment. It's janky AF, but I loved it. I literally loved it so much. We get approved for this place. It's a 2-story home in the middle of nature. A patio. I had been yearning for a space outside, a place that had a little outdoor area or somewhere where I could start like having a little garden. It was so weird because I got this opportunity to also be excited a little bit, and it felt almost like counterintuitive, but that's what was happening. So I remember just telling the universe, like, yeah, like, please give me the strength to get through this moment, and I hope that I can learn what I need to learn from this all. This moment, I call it a boot camp for me. Again, there's 2 stories happening at the same time, and my part of it is, it's weird. I was working from home, being a part of the situation, and I was someone that was used to solitude. And so I come here and my space is no longer mine. I'm sharing it with different people that are coming to visit. I'm sharing it with my family member in times of need. I left behind my place, my car, my things, my friends, in a way unknowingly, to be honest. Like, when I thought of moving out here, I didn't think of all those things. We're in the middle of a pandemic and we are in an immunocompromised home, right? Which means we need to be extra super careful. Felt like so intense this moment. And at the same time, I was confronted with a lot of the things that I had logically processed in my healing and awakening journey. I had processed some of my childhood trauma. I had processed my own insecurities, started to process what boundaries were, what my inner child was, highest self was, process like what I wanted to do with my life. And when I came here, I feel like I was confronted by so much. It was like boot camp because, one, it reinserted me into some type of family dynamic again, in which it was like I'm the daughter, the sibling, the niece. The journey that I had been on not wanting to work at corporate was super mega highlighted because I had no distractions here. I lived in a small town, so there was, the closest Starbucks is like 10-15 minutes away. There is no Target, that's 30 minutes away. There is no Trader Joe's, that's 30-40 minutes away. So I was like really in this isolation period. Now, if you know about awakening journeys, you know that part of the steps, there is this kind of period of isolation that happens before the hero's journey. I think there's awakening, consciousness, awareness, then there's dark night of the soul, and then you want to serve. And so I feel like maybe I was coming into that point, but when you want to serve, there's like isolation period. And without knowing it, that's what I was catapulted into. So I was kind of separated from my day-to-day, my normal, and I was catapulted into this moment of isolation, in a way of just felt like I was being caved in. That's what it felt like. Pressure cooker, you know, highly emotional, highly all of these things, a lot of energies, at that time I was learning like what a highly sensitive person was. I was learning empathy and what that actually meant. I was like, oh my God, like it's a lot, I knew, like, knowingly and unknowingly I perceived energies. And so I started to, it kind of like this moment taught me at a deeper level a lot of things. It taught me how to recognize that I could sense energies, how to clean my energy and my like space, how to recognize when something was in or out of alignment, how to listen to my intuition. I learned how to set boundaries, even in highly emotional, highly stressful situations where I would think maybe it was one more opportunity to overextend myself. I just simply couldn't. I was already overextended. And so it allowed me to gauge like what's my comfort level, what does that look like? And it allowed me to also step into my voice. It's where I learned who I truly was, what it was that was worth saying. I think sometimes in your awakening journey you shut down, you stop speaking as much, you don't care to hang out with as many people because you're like, well, I don't want them to influence me, but I also don't know what my influence is. Like, I don't know who I am, so you kind of like cave in. And here I really feel like I started to like coming into my power, my inner poder, that spark within you that's like this trust within ourselves, like, I got this. It's where a year ago I decided to quit my corporate job. I resigned in June, exactly a year ago. It's where I learned to trust the universe too. It's where I learned to shine again. For me, who I was at the core, underneath it all, because I had shed it all. I had left it all, I feel like leaving my corporate job was like the last layer that I peeled off. And don't get me wrong, doing that, letting go of who you are, can be so hard and there can be so much resistance. But I was at a point where I knew, like, I want something different. And I was getting a better, clearer picture of what I wanted. I want time freedom. I want financial freedom. I don't want to spend my time in a 9 to 5 working on things that I don't care about or that are so transactional. I recognize in HR, like at least the jobs that I have had, it's a lot about business and not so much about people, It's about knowing how to manage people so that the business wins. That's not me, but it took a lot to get to know that for myself and to be able to say that, like, that's not me. It felt selfish, but I know now that it truly was what I needed and what I know a lot of first gens need. It's this allowance of self-preservation, because we learn to give ourselves away in different ways, to overextend ourselves in the name of being a good person. And then at the end of the day, we end up burnt out, we end up depressed, we end up with anxiety. And it's terrible because we don't know how to ask for help. We don't know how to receive. We don't know how to validate ourselves. We think we're only worthy for the things that we do and the things that we do for others. And it's this like perfect storm that is created without us even knowing, and we don't know how to get out of it. And now even just saying it out loud, I'm like, wow, this is what I was learning, like learning how to navigate my own storm so that I could help others, so that, because this is the work that I do now. If you don't know, I'm a coach for first gens, and the root of what I think I'm here to do is to help people set aside who they think they need to be so that there's room for who they truly are and what they truly want. And for others, the journey of that is more like, I've always wanted to do this, I just don't think I can. For us, it's like, I never knew I wasn't being me. I always thought this was me. So once I start to unravel that, well, then I don't even know who I am and I don't even know what I want. And that's a journey that I help people with a bit, like shedding those layers of I have to, I must, if I don't do it, no one else will, of overextending, of not feeling lovable, of not feeling confident, of not trusting ourselves, of not being connected with our intuition, of doing so much out of logic or what's the right thing to do instead of what do I want to do, to the point that we no longer know what we want. So I feel like that's what I came here to really like live more and like put into action more in order for me to be able to be of service. And so I had this isolation period that felt so intense, but now I'm recognizing that that was the purpose of it. The meaning that I gave it is this. And so, yeah, here is where I really learned to set boundaries when I thought I couldn't, It's where I learned to speak my truth when I thought I shouldn't. It's where I found my passion or my next version of me or the next steps. I knew that I wanted to serve the First Gen community. I just didn't know how. I want them to know that they're not alone and know that, yes, it is tricky AF. It's hard AF, it's unique. A lot of people around us don't know how to help us through sometimes the storm that is created out of all of the factors that I named. And I'm so excited, for being able to support others through it. I know that what I'm doing, that this podcast, that coaching First Gens, it fulfills me in such a way that aligns so perfectly, more perfectly than I could have ever thought of. Because when I was always searching for what could I do next, it was really weird. I was trying to insert, I wanted to make me happy, but also make me money. And it's I didn't even know who I was. So how could I have known what was going to work out for me? And yet these 2 years really allowed me to come into who I was. And when I started, when the possibility of coaching and serving the First Gen community came in, everything literally it was kind of everything just clicked into place. And now I'm here. Here is, I said, it's 0.0. The reason that I say that is because as I move back to the West Coast, I'm starting from zero in a lot of senses. Financially, home-wise, it's a moment to rebuild. Since I'll be settling down over the next couple of months, I don't think I'll be taking on any more one-on-one clients until maybe August or September. But I definitely want to continue to serve my community and show up for you guys and be that support and guide that maybe you guys are looking for. And so for those of you that have been looking to work with me, I'm opening up appointments for an offer that I am calling Corazón a Corazón. It's a 75-minute call. And it's intended for those moments where you're maybe feeling a little bit stuck or lost or just need some clarity in your journey. That's the intention, is to provide you personalized support and really dive deep into your journey. And based on that, give you intuitive insights that I may receive as we're speaking, or that I may gauge as we're talking, maybe certain topics stand out and we could talk about those, asking clarifying questions, helping you kind of navigate where you're finding yourself so that at the end of the call, you can leave with additional resources, tools, and clarity on how to move into the next step or the next piece of your journey. So you can find more details about this and schedule your call in the link in the description. If you have any questions, make sure that you DM me on my socials, or you can email info@firstgenhealing.com. I am so excited to speak to those of you that decide to schedule your Corazón a Corazón. It is one of my favorite things to do, to serve you guys, to be a part of your journey, and to provide some of that clarity that you may be needing to help you see things from different perspectives. It's just an honor, honestly. And I'm just excited for what's to come for First Gen Healing Podcast, for First Gen Healing as a platform, for me as a coach, for you guys as a community. Please know that I appreciate every single one of you, and I would love to hear from you. I always say it, and I'll continue to say it because I love hearing the insights that you guys get from the episodes. I always ask questions in the episodes. If you're listening on Spotify, I add a question because I want to hear back from you guys, so please feel free to leave your insights. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode and for listening to, a recap of a lot of the things that I've been going through on my end. I know I chose, to highlight a lot of other people's stories, but I also hope that some insight into my own is helpful in any way. Make sure that you are following the podcast. Please. That really helps me, and it keeps me going, honestly. So please make sure that you're subscribed, and don't forget that the Corazón a Corazón slots will be available and you can schedule yours now. Other than that, First Gen, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you for being here. Share this with your amigas, amigos, amigues that you think might find this helpful. Y les mando un beso en la frente. Just kidding. E, remember first gen that I love you, I love me, and I can't wait for you to love yourself.